Hi friends, it's Julie Golding Page, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator here in St. Stephen, New Brunswick, Canada, along the tidal Schoodic or St. Croix River, the traditional territory of the Passamaquoddy. And I'm grateful that they share this beautiful place with us. Today I have a shaker card for you. And as you can see here, it's using sea glass or beach glass. And I'm going to be using the Bottled Happiness stamp set, the vintage bottle punch, and the vintage bottle shaker domes to make the card. So I will demonstrate that very shortly for you. But first, there's all kinds of news today, and I wanted to make sure you knew about all the latest news and really great deals right now. So I'm going to just flip this over so we can see my desk, and I will show you some of the latest news. So here's the card again, just so you can have a good look at it. That's the project we're going to be doing today, and I'll show you how to do that with these raised domes and the beach glass inside. But right before we get to that though, I wanted to let you know I have a BOGO coming up. So I have a BOGO coming up October 15th to 21st. And that is buy one, get one. So how it works is you purchase whatever you want from the Stampin' Up! Website. It could be from a catalog or from things only available online. You pay for those items and you select an equivalent amount from my retired products. And how you get in on this sale is to join my BOGO group. So I will add that link in the post after I'm done here today so that you can join my Facebook group, and then you'll get all the information you need to join the sale. Okay, also another thing that's just started today is this terrific deal, joining deal with Stampin' Up! And you'd also join my Creative Cafe group with all of its perks. And we have this 35-year anniversary of Stampin' Up! This year. So they are offering just for the rest of October 35% off the cost of your starter kit, which can be anything, again, from the website that you want. There's no set items. Or you can get the usual price, but get 35% more product. So how that comes out is the 35% off is $165 worth of anything you want for just $87.75 instead of the usual $135. No tax, no shipping in most places in Canada. Or if you wanted the 35% more product, you would get $222.75 worth of anything you want from the website for just $135. And that's, again, without any taxes or shipping in most parts of Canada. So it's a super good deal. If you'd like to learn more, you can click on the link that is in this post already. It'll take you to my website. And you can just go to Join Creative Cafe and it'll tell you all about it. I would love to have you join me in my group called Creative Cafe. And again, the starter kit has no set items. It can be anything you want from the whole Stampin' Up! Website. So it's good for new people who've just started crafting, and it's also good for those who are just looking to buy their holiday supplies at a discount. There is no selling required. I'm happy to help you start a business if you want, but you don't have to, and most people who join never do. So that is quite all right too. And there's one more really cool perk of joining right now. What they're doing is they're adding access to OnStage, Stampin' Up's online worldwide conference with stamping demonstrations of brand new items that won't come out until after Christmas. So that is usually worth $102 just to sign up for that, but they're giving it to you absolutely free with either of these deals, which is super great. I'll be going to that conference online, and I would love to see you join me there. So if you need any more information, just message me, and I'll be happy to talk to you about that. One more thing before we get to our project, and that is I have this Home for the Holidays kit class. So it's good for those who are just starting to try paper crafting. It's good for those who consider themselves non-crafty. You don't have to be crafty to be successful at this paper crafting hobby, especially with a kit, because everything that you need comes right in it. So there's not a big financial or time investment to see if you want to just try it out and how you like it. And I love this hobby because I'm not crafty in any other way. My thing is paper. That's all I do. I can't sew. I don't deal well with textiles of any sort. I don't know how to do any other craft. The only thing I know how to do is paper. And so if you're like me and think, oh, gee, I'm not really that crafty, well, maybe you'd like to give paper crafting a try. And I'd love to have you join this class. Just send me a message to find out more, or click through on the link that's in this post, and there's more information there as well. Okay, so all this great news leads us into our project. I hope you're going to enjoy this. This is a bit different. I've been doing a lot of fairly simple projects lately. This one is a little more involved, but it is definitely doable. So as long as you just follow the steps, it's really no problem at all. So let's have a look at what we need here. So first of all, I always like to do the stamping. So we're going to do the stamping first, and I'm going to get my stamp set out so we can do that. Here's the stamp set that I used. Oh yes, and I haven't said, please let me know that you're watching and where you're watching from. Maybe you can tell me if you've ever made a shaker card before. I know some people find them really fun and others really challenging. So I want to just demonstrate it step by step so you can see how to do it here. So here's the Bottled Happiness stamp set. So it's got all kinds of really nice sentiments in it. And we're going to use this one, Overflowing with Happiness. So I'm going to take a little piece of this cardstock, which is wild wheat, and we will stamp on that in our color. And our chosen color is actually Pretty Peacock. Okay, so here's Pretty Peacock. I found this to be a really great color to work with. I find it just works well on almost everything. So we're going to go ahead with that. And usually I'd say to put a cushion underneath your stamp, because these are the photopolymer stamps. But in this case, I've got a few sheets of this graph paper here, so it should be okay. Okay, so I'm just going to put that on there. And we're going to go ahead and stamp it in the Pretty Peacock. Oh, good morning, Linda. Glad you could join in. All right, so let's see how this goes. Now, I like to try this out before I actually do the real thing. So let me just get a scrap paper here and we'll do that. Just to make sure we're getting the ink coverage we really want. Yeah, it looked like I was missing a little bit of it there, so I'll try that again. All right, let's see if this works better. And we'll just try that. So I always advise just kind of doing it on a scrap piece first, and then you can kind of tell if there's perhaps a little fiber on your stamp or something. I think I do have a fiber on my stamp. It's not stamping quite right on... Let's see, on the L. I think I got it off now, so let's try that again. Sometimes if you have just little fibers of anything, they'll block the stamping. So that's a lot better there. So I think we're in business now. So I'll go ahead and do that. And we're just going to stamp that on a little scrap of wild wheat. And I'll have these instructions all on my website. In fact, they're already there. If you click on the link that is here in the post, it'll take you right to my website, and I've got all of the instructions right there. Okay, so let's get rid of our scrap paper, and we're going to close up our ink pad so we don't have an ink disaster here on the side. I'll just put that off to the side. And then I'm going to clean my stamp right away so it doesn't get into the rest of my project. So let me do that. I'm going to use my Simply Chamois, which I just keep in a spare stamp box. You can buy a pack of these stamp boxes separately if you don't have a spare one. And a good way to do it is if you have some friends who are also wanting to put their chamois in a box like this, just go together and then you can share the cost, and that works really well. Okay, so there we go. So this is just water. It's a special foamy material made to take the ink off the stamps, and you just put water on it, and just like that, it clears it off really nicely for you. And I'll just rinse that underwater later to get out the rest of the color. Okay, so there's my stamp, and I'm going to take that and put it here back in my little box. And that is our stamping for this project. Nothing else needs to be done. So let's go ahead and we'll cut out the word. So just like I did there, I'm going to cut out the word now too. And let's see how this works. So you can cut it out as precisely or as generally as you wish. It really doesn't matter. It's all to your taste. As long as there's a little bit of room around the letters and it's not cut too close to them, it should look just fine. And even if it gets a little closer than you mean, it'll still look fine too. So I find these paper snips work really well for that. There. So there's my words that I just cut out, and they look really good. So that's a simple technique, but I really like it because it makes things look so nice. It makes it look fancy somehow. Okay, so there's that sentiment. So I'm just going to put that off to the side right now. And what we're going to do now is adhere some papers to our card base. So what I'm using for a card base today is these Craft cards and envelopes. So here's the envelope that it came with. So you get a pack of 20 of these, and they're quite reasonably priced and very convenient because they're already scored in the middle. So you just need to fold them, press down the fold. I like to use my bone folder, and that works really well. And then I'm taking some of this paper here, a couple of strips of this paper, and a piece of this one. And I'll tell you what these are. So this one is a DSP, that's a designer series paper. And you might recognize it if you know any of the DSPs from Stampin' Up. It's okay if you don't though. This one is Fresh as a Daisy. So it's from Fresh as a Daisy pack. And this is the back side of it. So we're going to use that because it kind of goes with our color scheme and goes with all the different colors of beach glass as well. So I'm going to take these pieces of paper here. These are from the More Dazzle paper, and here's the rest of it. I've used almost all of the gold, but there's this champagne color as well, and it's really, really pretty. I really like that, and I've used it on a number of projects here, as you can see. So what I'm going to do with these little strips is adhere them about 1/4 inch from the top and the bottom of the card. And the reason I use these strips instead of a whole piece of paper, which would be easier to place on the card, right, is just to save the paper so that I can get so much more out of it this way if I use little strips than if I used a great big piece. So for some of the specialty papers, I think that's the way to go, because then you have lots more of it to use and you don't have to worry about it, about getting more and more of it. I think that saves a lot of money that way. It's just smart to use it sparingly, I think. Okay, so we're going to put our little piece on here about 1/4 inch from the end, and we'll take this one again and do the same. And then we'll put that on the card as well. Okay, so I'm actually using this grid paper, and that's the name of it. It's called grid paper, and you get it in packs of 100, and I find it really helpful as a background for my crafting. And also I use all these little 1/4 inch squares. It's got metric on the back, so if you craft in metric measurements instead, it's also a good paper to have, but I really like it. Okay, so these go off the edge just a little, so I'm going to take my paper snips here, and I'm just going to cut off the little edges there. Okay. So there we go. So we cut off the extra. That's perfect. And I'll go ahead now and take my Fresh as a Daisy paper, and I'm going to just adhere it kind of in the middle of these two strips. Okay, so let's put some Stampin' Seal on the back here. So this is my tape glue that I like to use a lot. You could use liquid glue if you wanted, the multi-purpose liquid glue. This is good stuff too. But I'm not sure how well it would stick to this kind of glittery surface. So that's why I'm using a dry glue, a tape glue. I think it'll just stick better. Okay, I'm just going to try to get this straight as I can. I think this is pretty good. Okay, it doesn't have to be exact, just close. So there we go. All right, so I've got that on. And now the next thing is to put together this whole piece here. So let's do the bottle first with the glass. That's kind of the fun part, right? To get the bottle part done. So what I'm using for those is vintage bottle shaker domes. So they come in a pack of 10, I believe. 10, yeah, it won't even focus, the print is so small. Yeah, 10, there we go. And so you get quite a few of them. And I'm just gonna take one out. So this is what they look like. There's the bowed side up there. And what we're going to do is we're going to flip it over so that the bowed side is down and the flat side that you can put stuff in is up. Okay, so we're going to load that up with the sea glass. And this is actually not just beach glass, but actual sea glass. I got it here in southwestern New Brunswick by looking on the beaches. So some of it's from Whitehead Island, which is a small island near Grand Manan. Very beautiful. Also, I got some from New River Beach, where I come from. And there's a provincial park there as well. And I also got some from Black's Harbor. I can't talk today. So that's where I got the rest of it. So the blue is kind of a more rare color, but it's super vibrant. So I want to make sure we put some blue in there. Oh, I've got a big piece of blue there too. Let's do that. And then let's find some nice weathered pieces of white and green. That's a nice one. I like the ones with kind of the weathered edges. I don't want the sharp looking ones. Sometimes when you pick them up, you can't really tell what you're getting. So I get some that are too new to really use. They have to be buffeted by the waves for quite a while first before they really look like you want. Let's see. There's another white one. That's nice. Okay, you could use that. Okay, so now I need some green ones, don't I? Okay, let's see if we can get green ones. Does anybody else like to go looking for sea glass on the beach, or beach glass if you're near a lake instead? Some of the Great Lakes especially are known for being great places to find beach glass. So let's see, there's another nice one. All right, maybe one or two more green ones just to sort of spice up the color scheme a little bit more. Let's see what we can find here. There's one. That's a little one. That'll look very nice. And maybe one more at least, I'd say, just to make it look super pretty. And you can put as many or as few in as you wish. And you can, be very specific about your colors too, if you want to get certain colors in more than others. So I'm just taking a few extra little pieces of green in here, just to make sure that it's got lots of green as well as the other colors. Okay, I think that'll do. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a small scrap of this paper, which is the Distressed Gold paper. And this is really a nice paper because it has this shine of gold, so a bit of bling, but it also has almost a sandy appearance, so it really goes with our theme today. So we're going to put it face down on the back of our dome so that we can enclose all of that glass and it won't get out. Okay, Linda, is it found in water or sand? Oh, yeah, that's a great question. Usually you find it in sandy places that are near some rocks, because that's where it kind of tends to turn up and it gets buffeted around by all the waves. So I look for a rocky beach that might have some sand, but often it's where little pebbles and things are. So anywhere you might find some shells, a good place to find shells. You can often find some glass as well, but usually most places people kind of have some local knowledge about where to find it. So I'd say if you're looking for it, just kind of keep your eyes open and maybe even Google it, good places to find beach glass in whatever area you live in. And that can be really helpful. Okay, here we go. So I'm taking off this adhesive backing very carefully, and it's extremely sticky, so just know that. And I'm taking my piece of Distressed Gold with the gold side down. And what I want to do is cover all the edges of my bottle. All right, so that all of it gets enclosed. So here we go, and I'm pressing it on. So I'm pressing on the other side. Where I'm pressing, I'll show you here on one of these bottles. So what I'm doing with the paper on it is I'm pressing this part on the other side just to make sure I get all the adhesive on. So that's kind of key with this. It's even more important if you're doing something like sand. And yesterday I did a card with sand, so you can find that on my website as well. If you just click through with the link that's here on this post today, that'll take you to today's blog post, and I have a link there to yesterday's card in case you missed it. Okay, so that's what it looks like. So like I said, you can have as much or as little glass as you wish, and you can just shake it up and down like that. If I used smaller pieces, it would shake more, but I wanted some bigger pieces of that blue in there as well. And that piece of blue really moves around a lot, right? So there it is up top now. Okay, so we've got that. Now we have to get this piece. So this piece is actually the Holographic Trio specialty paper. And I remember that when I got it, I thought, what am I going to use this for? I really liked it, but I didn't know what to use it for. And I have found I've used it in so many things, so it's been really, really good. So the first thing that I did with my holographic paper, this is a sheet that came in it that is a mix of Starry Sky and Berry Burst. You can kind of see the pink in the background there. Yeah, I really like this paper too, Kathy. I think it's so, so pretty. And then you get the silver as well. Maybe I should show you that. I've got some just on the side here. So you get 3 different colors. One is this, and some of it is more pink than blue. Like some of the sheet is more blue than pink, and some of the sheet is more pink than blue, because here's the more pink one. So that's the more pink side, and I chose the blue to kind of go with my project, but it's all on the same sheet. It's got a mix. And then there's this one that's kind of variegated holographic, which is really nice. I like that a lot. And then there's this one, which is just, whoa, that really shines, doesn't it? But it actually looks silver with a hint of rainbow. When you see it in person, it doesn't look quite that rainbowy. It's just the lights under the camera here that are doing that. But it's really pretty as well. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're actually going to punch our bottle. So you can see I did it this way, and I did it so that the bottle was tending down. And the reason I did that was so that it looks like these pieces of glass are kind of escaping. And when it says overflowing with happiness, the bottle's literally overflowing onto your card. So that's why I did that. So let's take the Vintage Bottle Punch. Here it is. So it's very simple. And I'm just going to turn it on. There we go. Kind of open it up so you can put the paper in. And we want it to be tilted down. So let's just do that. Punch. And simple as that. It just takes a couple of seconds. And then the cool thing is you've got this nice bottle. So you could use that on another card for something else. So that's really nice. You definitely want to hang on to that piece and use it for something else. And then just when you're done with your punch, just hold it together like that and press the button back down. And then that keeps it flat for you. Much easier to store that way. And make sure little fingers don't get stuck in it, or adult fingers either for that matter. Now, I also put one of these chevrons in the end. So let's try to do that now. I put it a fairly deep way in. So you can decide though how far in you want it to be. And then I cut it a little farther than I meant. So we'll just go up and meet that. That's the good thing when you cut these yourself. You can always change the dimensions to match the cut that you actually made, even if it's not the one that you meant to make. So it's pretty straightforward. So let's do that. There, very nice. So that is our chevron piece. So it looks just like this one. And you can probably guess what we're going to do with it next. We're going to take the adhesive here. We're going to pull that off. And we're going to stick this over the top. Okay, so you can just kind of position it so that it's as exact as you want. And then stick it down. Now this kind of this paper, this holographic paper, will kind of take a little bit of fingerprints. So what you can do is just get a soft cloth or a tissue after and wipe off your fingerprints. Like, that's not a big deal. You can definitely take that off. And what you see here is, because this is tilted downward, my piece of paper comes off the edge here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim off any excess. And I'm going to just trim underneath the edge there so that I get all of it. And on this side, it looks like I've got a little extra. So I'm just going to cut off that corner of gold. And there you go, presto. Just like magic almost. It's all the way it needs to be. So now we've got our bottle all set up. And let's see what we want to do next. Okay, so the next thing would be to put this right onto the card. Oh, whoops, there's a little bit of the gold that you can see. So here's what I'm doing. I'm just cutting off that little bit of gold, that little corner that was in the way. There. So now that's gone and you don't see that anymore. So on the back, it's not going to look perfect. It's going to look crooked like this, just because of the nature of putting this bottle on crooked as well. But there's no problem with that because nobody will ever see the back. So no issue whatsoever. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just glue that on. I'm just going to use my Stampin' Seal actually, but you could use any glue you want for this. It really doesn't matter. It'll stick on pretty hard no matter what glue you use, because your glass is not that heavy, right? So that should pretty much keep it in place. So I'm just going to put that on. And here we go. All right, and again, you're going to want to press that down pretty hard, but you can remove your fingerprints later, so that's no problem. I think I've got a bit of tissue here I could probably use for that. So I'll just wipe that off right now since we're done pressing on that. Okay, there we go. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put our Overflowing with Happiness on. So you can put that anywhere you like on the card. It doesn't matter. I'm going to put mine a little bit further across than I did my sample. And I'm just going to use a couple of dimensionals. And that's going to be pretty simple to do, I think. So I like to keep things as simple as possible. Even in a card with multi-steps like this, I like simple. So I try to keep it as easy as possible. So I'm just using dimensionals there. And then I put, instead of embellishments, well, I guess I used my glass as embellishments. So that's what I'm going to do over here. So I'll put 3 more pieces of glass. So let's open up the little container here and see what glass we might put on there. So that's kind of a nice one. Let's take that. It's pretty weathered. Maybe that one could go kind of up here. And I need some, maybe green would be good. Maybe I can find a green one here. That one's pretty good. I'll keep that out, but let's see if we can find a better one. It's nice if you can get kind of a flat one. Oh, and I've even got brown. What would that look like? Oh yeah, the brown's pretty nice. Maybe I'll go with that. That's pretty good. So you could use any color of beach glass or sea glass that you can find. And it all looks nice, so it really doesn't matter. Oh, there's a nice one. Maybe I'll use that one. Yeah, I think that's better than that little one. Okay, so let's put those on. And all I did to put them on in my sample card was use these mini glue dots. I found that they stuck really well. Oh, good morning, Maureen. Nice to see you here today. Yeah, I've just been working on this shaker card using some sea glass that I found here in southwestern New Brunswick in my travels this summer. Oops, I didn't get that glue dot on. It went on me instead of the card. That's not the idea. Let's see if we can get it to go this time. Nope. Now I've got to get a new one. That's all right. We'll get a new one. Okay, so get that to stick on there, if it will, instead of sticking on me. Sometimes things don't always turn out the way you want. And you have to kind of coax them, right? Anybody had that experience with their crafting? Like right now, this worked perfectly well before, and now it's saying, no, I'm not going to do it. There, now it's stuck. Okay, so let's get one here. So the more you can get flat pieces, the better this is going to work, I would say. You could also try some liquid glue to keep these on, and I think that would also work really well. So it's whatever you like to use, really. Okay, so that one's sticking nicely. There's the rest of that glue dot that didn't work. Okay, and we'll just get this one with the brown. Hopefully this one will behave. And it could be that these have a little bit of salt on them from the ocean, which would mean they're not going to want to stick to anything. So, unique card. Oh, thanks, Maureen. Yeah, when I saw this set, I just thought, okay, I've got to do some fun stuff with this. So I made one that had message in a bottle, which will come up in a little while. I made a sea glass card, and I also made, what was the other one? Sand. So I did one with sand as well, and that was posted on my website yesterday. So yeah, I had some fun with this. And these were all part of my club class this month, which you can actually enroll in any month without being a club member as well. You just get a bit of break and more perks if you're a club member. But this was my club class this month, so I had a lot of fun with this. So thank you everybody for joining me today. I hope you did enjoy the project, and I hope it will inspire you to use shaker domes like this. Again, these ones are the vintage bottle shaker domes. I have the vintage bottle punch that I used, and the bottled happiness stamp set, and the full supply list that I used is actually in the post on my website, including the instructions for the card today. So if you click on that link that you see at the top of this post, it'll take you right to the instructions and the supply list, so you can see all the things that I used. But thanks again for joining me, and I hope you have a wonderfully crafty day. Bye for now.